I want to get into this series this morning a little further about intimacy with God and developing a closer relationship and a deeper relationship with God. And I know there's a lot of people here this morning. You have one. You have a relationship with the Lord. And there's many of you that are new to Christianity or relationship with God. And you don't feel like you have that yet. That's what this series is all about. So I want to talk to you about entering into God's rest. God's rest is an amazing place to be. And so I want to pick it up. We've been talking about the journey of Israel. I want to go a little further than that. But this time I'm going to come out of Hebrews. And Hebrews 3 says this. So search your hearts every day, my brothers and sisters, and make sure that none of you has an evil or unbelief hiding within you. Boy, that's powerful right there. For it will lead you astray and make you unresponsive to the living God. I only have time to preach that, but I'm going to come back to that one day. My head's spinning. Is your head spinning just from that, Pastor Javi? I mean, my head is spinning from that. I can't wait to preach my face off on it. So this is the time to encourage each other to never be stubborn or hardened by sin's deceitfulness. For we are mingled with a Messiah if we will continue unshaken in this confident assurance from the beginning to the end. For again, the scriptures say, if only today you would listen to his voice, do not make him angry by hardening your hearts as you did in the wilderness rebellion. The same people who were delivered from the bondage and brought out of Egypt by Moses were the ones that heard and still rebelled. They grieved God for 40 years by sinning in their unbelief until they dropped dead in the desert. So God swore an oath that they would never enter into his calming place of rest, all because they disobeyed him. It's clear that they could not enter into its inheritance because they wrapped their hearts in unbelief. Now, that's talking about the children of Israel's rebellion. And their rebellion, by the way, how it all happened. Remember, Moses comes and God judged Israel terribly for everything they'd done. And he leads Israel out safely. They come out through the Red Sea into the wilderness, and then God met them in the wilderness, blessed them, provided for them faithfully, and led them to the border of the promised land. And when they got to the border of the promised land, they sent 12 spies into the land to kind of go check it out, come back and give a report. And they come back and they rebelled and said, we will not go into the promised land because it's a graveyard for us and our kids. We wish we would have just died back in Egypt. Now, that's amazing to me of how many things that God did for them, and they still had the attitude that God wasn't faithful. Said, we will not enter into that place. And so what it says here is God's trying to take Israel and bring them into a restful place. Now, notice that God doesn't call it the promised land in this text. He calls it his rest. And here's what I want you to understand this morning. The whole context of everything I want you to catch today is this. You will never have true peace and you will never have true rest in your life until you have a relationship with God. God did not, watch this, God did not deliver Israel from Egypt, which was a piece of property, into the promised land, which was just another piece of property. God led Israel from Pharaoh, who was the most harsh, cruel taskmaster of all time, and into his arms. Understand this, it wasn't about a superior piece of land, going from one piece of land to another piece of land. It was about entering into an excellent relationship with their father. And the rest was, I want you to hear me, the rest is not in a place, it's in someone. Rest is never in a place because sometimes you had to move. And so if you get addicted or accustomed to one place, it'll mess up your whole world when you get transitioned. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If you follow God long enough, you're going to get transitioned from time to time. And so if you're like, oh, well, God can't move unless I have my leg up like this and my pinky like this and that. You're going to get messed up when God starts taking you to other places and stretching you. I always said I wasn't ever going to leave the United States. I'm never going to go preach anywhere outside of the United States. The only problem with us, Pastor Jackie. Pastor Jackie is my pastor at Church on the Rock. And he said, hey, Todd, I need you to go over here to Czech Republic. I said, oh, no, that's way. They got no stars or stripes on their flag, you know. Pretty sure there's no Pizza Hut, Can't do it, bro. He said, you told me I was your pastor. I said, yes, sir. He said, when you call me pastor, that means that you put your trust in me to stretch you. I'm like, you ain't got to be all spiritual and stuff. This is just a phone call about Pizza Hut. And then here you going off like this, let me pray about it. And he said, why do you need to pray when God's already told you to trust your leadership? You know what? Right now, I wish he wasn't my leadership. So rest is not a place, it's somebody. But they didn't put their faith in God. And here's what the scripture said. Search your hearts every day, my brothers and sisters, and make sure that none of you, and I think this applies to us today, make sure that none of you has evil or unbelief hiding on the inside, for it will lead you astray. And this last part's what's getting my head spinning, and make you unresponsive to the living God. In other words, if you got fear or unbelief, it makes you be in a coma. Are you catching what it just said? Fear can make you, it can polarize you so much that you seem dead to everybody on the outside world. I can't come to that today because I got to go through this whole thing, but just know I'm coming back. I'll be back. So no evil or unbelief hiding with you in you. Other versions say this, the lie of sin. Every one of us in this room are being tempted by the devil to sin. And there's a lie at the heart of every sin that we commit. And here's what that lie is. The lie that the devil tells us to keep us from going God's way and going a different way is this. You're going to find rest apart from God. You can get rest apart from God. And so your heart's looking for something and you're searching for something to fill this void. Everybody in this room was kind of born with this void in your life. And that void is to make you run back to the Father. And what the enemy does is he comes in and tells you to try to fill it up with other things. He tries to get you to fill it up with other things. And so there's obviously something missing in every one of our lives. When we were born spiritually dead. Adam and Eve sinned, and the Spirit of God departed with a dead spirit until we get born again. And when you get born again, you get made brand new. You get a complete do-over. Somebody say amen. It's a new beginning. And so we're born with that same sin nature, and we're dead until we're born again. And we're looking for something that's going to satisfy this inner need that only a relationship with God can satisfy. Jesus came to the woman at the well. Remember the Samaritan woman? And he said, lady, if you can, this is Kevin Todd Turnbow version. You probably open up your New King James Version. It probably don't say it like I'm finna say it. But just go check out the story. The parts are there that you need to know. He said, lady, if you keep drinking from that well right there, you're going to always be thirsty. He said, you're never going to be satisfied. But if you knew who you were talking to, you would ask me for a drink and I would give you a drink and you'll never get thirsty again because I'm the only thing that can really satisfy your soul. The rest that we're looking for, the peace that we're looking for is only found in a relationship with God. But the lie of sin is you can find it somewhere else. You can find it through sex or sexual immorality. You can find it through alcohol or drugs, through popularity, through being powerful. If you had many leather-bound books and your house smelled of mahogany. Y'all don't remember the anchor man? I'm a very important man, very big man. Anyway, so if you had more money, if you were more beautiful, something will make your heart rest other than a relationship with God. And so John comes in and he trumps this in 1 John 2. He says, do not love this world nor the things it offers you. Now let's define those terms here because that'll mess you up. The earth is the Lord and all it contains. The mountains, the oceans, the beaches. Now, we don't have a lot of that here in Texas. But let me tell you why. Here's why. You're not going to find this in the Bible, but this is true. So California has oceans and all that stuff, and the eastern border they have oceans, and they got mountains in Colorado and and all those things. Those places were so ugly that God had to put those things there. But when he made Texas, he said it was good and perfect. That makes me want to talk like Coach Tim Taylor. Clear eyes, full heart, can't lose. I don't know what Friday Night Lights has to do with that, but it inspires me somewhere. I always tell people like that. And so Tommy Lehman had on her Facebook this road this week that China goes from 50 lanes down to 4. And she was like, oh, Pastor Todd, you don't want to go to California. What about this place? I said, they're both foreign countries and I don't want to go to either. Said, you feel like California's a foreign country? Come back another Sunday, I'll preach on that. And so I'm talking about a world system because God's creation's good. The world system is a system of thinking, and what it does is it replaces who God is. So it says, do not love the things of this world, nor it offers you. For when you love the world, you do not have the love of the Father in you. For the world offers only a craving for physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, and pride in our achievements and possessions. They're not from the Father, but they're from the world. And this world is fading away along with everything that people crave. But anyone who does what pleases the Lord will live forever. Now, let me tell you what the devil's lie is to everybody in this room. He wants us to forsake God. And remember in this text, catch this. In the text we just read, there's only 2 choices. The love of the Father or the love of the world. And you can either choose the world to meet the need in your life and try to give you rest and try to give you fulfillment on the inside, or you can turn to the love of the Father. But you can't have both. Are you tracking with me? It's either or. And the lie of the devil is this: beauty and pleasure and status. That'll give you more peace in your heart. The lust of the eye is if I can put beautiful things around me, if I was prettier, if I had this, if I could get pretty people around me and pretty things around me, it would give rest to my heart. If I could have more pleasure, if I could get better food, if I could get better sex, if I could get better drinks, if I could have more pleasure in my life, it would give me rest on the inside of my heart, and everybody's going to respect me. And if I had the right status, can I tell you it's still going to be empty? That's the lie that the enemy uses to split up marriages all the time, man. If you go hook up with this lady over here, you'll get better sex. If you go hook up with this man over here, you'll get better sex. And what you do is you leave the 80% that's right at home and you go looking for the 20% that's missing. Who in the world would walk away from an 80% investment to go invest in 20%? Well, the grass is greener on the other side. That dog's meaner too. I'm going to tell you that right now. And most of the time, you know why the grass is greener on the other side than on your side? Because they're just using more manure than you are. You'll catch that on the way home. On the way home, you'll say, I think Pastor Todd meant this. Let me tell you something, it won't work. There are many people who try to have beauty and pleasure and status galore. I think, and maybe it's because it's just going on, again, talking about Michael Jackson. And I believe, whether you believe whatever you think about him as a person, arguably the greatest entertainer I've ever seen in my life. Arguably the greatest entertainer of our time. He had success. He had money. Dude, you know you rich when you got a giraffe. I got like Rottweiler money. That fool had giraffe money. And a monkey called Bubbles. That's money right there. You know. So pray for me. And he's got all that. He got a whole place called Neverland. Got this whole ranch. Got this amusement park. Everything that went with it. But that guy had, listen, man, he was so tormented. He had to use the kind of drugs that you use to put somebody to sleep to have surgery. He was so tormented. He had to use that drug that they use to put you to sleep so they can cut you open just so he can get a few hours of sleep and peace. That right there tells me money and fame and glory, that doesn't buy you anything. Are you hearing? You still have all those things, but you still don't have peace because you can't have rest apart from God. And many people like them have done the same thing because it's called the deceitfulness of sin. It's a lie that tells you that you can find rest apart from God. And when you believe that, watch me, when you believe that, what happens is you begin to pursue other things. And so God becomes just a distraction. You're not attracted to a relationship with God because you really don't see that as being able to help you in any way for what you're looking on the inside. So you'll keep looking at anything and God will just be something over here that's distracting you from really becoming who you're called to be. It's a great lie, man. It's a great lie. So God says Israel didn't put their faith in his word. Therefore, they couldn't go into rest. They would rather go back to the world than a relationship. Matthew 6:24, Jesus said it this way: nobody can serve two masters, for either he'll hate one and love the other, or he'll be loyal to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. Now, mammon, what is mammon? Mammon is the money god. Mammon is money with an evil spirit on it. Now, in my pocket, I got like 20 bucks. I am so rich with Trish being in Thailand. I have so much money right now. But did you know this? All money, I want you to hear me, all money has a spirit on it. Did you know that? Every bit, every penny, every nickel, every dime, every quarter, every dollar has a spirit on it. And according to what we just read, it either has the spirit of mammon or has the spirit of God. Now, money in my pocket, my 20 bucks, that I'm loaded. I used to have a lot of money till I had a kid. Then I got this 18-year-old. I'm like, hey, bro, why don't you go get you a job? Why? Oh, my God, your mom is in Thailand right now, and I could kill you, and she would never know. That's why. That's why you need to go do this. Because when you go to school, I'm going to change the locks. That's why you need to. Anyway, so, but the money in my pocket has the Spirit of God on it. Well, Todd, how do you know that? Because it's not my money, it's God's money in my pocket. So he can ask for this 20 bucks and I'll cough it up. Because everything I have is because he blessed me and he gave it to me. Not because I deserve it, because he's a good God. And because I tithe 10%. Now everybody don't like that when you start talking about tithing works. Some people get offended. And most of the people that get offended are the people that don't tithe. Oh, you better pull back, Pastor Todd. You're going to hurt somebody's feelings. If I cut you with my attitude, then I am sorry for my attitude. But if I cut you with the word of God, then bleed, baby, bleed. You can't get a tourniquet for that kind of blood. But I tithe, man. I give offerings. I sow. I do different things like that. But everybody can't handle it. Some people get mad when other people get blessed. You ever see somebody get blessed and somebody in the church get mad? Did you see them this morning? They came to church. They had those new dealer tags on their car. Can't stand those people. You know how long I've been praying for a car and I had to Uber? Or that new thing that's... I'm just saying $1 for a minute, 15 cents everyone after. Do what you got to do, dog. I am not late for work. I don't want to do that. I want a car. Listen to me. I'm going to tell you something that's going to mess your head up real bad. If you're praying for a car and a car don't come, but all of a sudden at the end of your block, they put in a brand new bus stop. You may have not got what you wanted, but you got what you needed. I wish I had half a church. I ain't got a car, but I do got Uber. Within Uber, because now you ain't got to pay for gas and you ain't got to pay for tires and you don't got to pay for... It's another way for God to bless you. Are you saying I'm never going to get the car? I'm not saying that. But I'm saying if you get messed up when other people get blessed, you ain't never going to get nothing, you stingy thing. I just don't understand. I'm at church every Sunday and I've been keeping record. They don't hardly ever come. Because you got a heart issue. Quit asking for what other people got and start asking God to bless you for what he has for you. I can barely take care of what I got. I don't want what other people have. I want what God puts in my hand, because if not, I'll waste it. Remember the prayer of Jabez? I'll waste it and it'll pour it out on the ground. So God, give me what you want me to have, but keep it in your hand, because you hold it tight and I'm liable to lose this whole thing. That's not fair. I'm number 87. I took my ticket. I'm number 87. They were like number 88. They got in front of me. Everyone knows you can't go to 88 without going to 87. Have you ever been to Rose's? I'll be over there hungrier than a mug. Sitting on 87 and like 91, 92. Now I'm like, oh, that devil is a liar. I know he's a liar. Like, I'm finna go to jail. I'm finna whoop a cook over some fajitas. That girl, look, number 95, she weighs like 27 pounds. Here I am over here, bumping 270. Y'all see I'm about to pass out. Help a brother out. Help a brother out, that's all I'm saying. Why are you getting tripped up by why other people get blessed? Do you not know that the same God that blessed them is able to bless you? And if he bypasses number 87 to go to 91 or 92, it's been a lot of times I've been at Rose's and they walked up to me and said, hey, sorry for your wait. Let me give you some free sopapillas. I'm like, whoo, Shunda, you don't hear what I'm saying? What are you telling me? I'm telling you why you waiting. God will bless you on your wait. If you can have the right heart and the right spirit, see what God won't do for you. And you ought to get excitedly happy when 91, 92 got blessed. That means you're just one step closer into line. And my God that owns all the cattle on all the mountaintops is the one that's pouring out the blessing. And he don't love you more than he loves me. How do you know? Because this word tells me so. So shout when somebody else gets blessed. Bless them. Hey, can you, now I ain't got the Uber girl. I know you got a new car. Can you give me a ride? It's all in how you see it. Am I helping anybody? Some of you can't get blessed. You can't get blessed. And the reason you can't get blessed because you're tripping on your own heart. You're tripping on your own attitude. It ain't because God loves them more than you. It's just you got a bad attitude. You whoop your kids for how you acted between you and God. I wish my kid would act like that. But I don't trust in money. In fact, on our money, thank God, on our money it still says, in God we trust. They haven't taken God off of everything yet. It's in God I trust. How about you? And let me tell you something, man. That's the only way you're going to get through it. You're going to love and you're going to be intimate with one and you're going to despise or hate the other. You're going to hold on to one or reject the other. So keep that in mind. And so these people got blessed beyond measure. Why would the people of God who had seen miraculous deliverance, who had seen manna, bread rain out of heaven, water out of a rock, a pillar of cloud by day, and a pillar of fire by night, their clothes didn't wear out, their shoes didn't wear out. They had seen the glory of the living God. The Red Sea, y'all, a whole sea parts on the front of them. And when they get past, it comes down on Pharaoh and his armies. Why, after seeing all of that, would they choose the world over God? Or the world over the Father? Let me give you the answer. It's the same reason some of you haven't totally bought into what I'm telling you this morning. Fear. The number one reason that we do what we do in life, it all comes down to fear versus faith. Israel's motivation, when you read the journey of Israel coming out of Egypt, they were consumed by fear their entire journey. They could never get rid of fear. Adam and Eve in the garden, once they sinned, the first thing, the emotion they showed, they felt fear. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love. The opposite of fear is love. The opposite of fear is faith. And when you're motivated by love for God, when you're motivated by faith, fear can't drive you anymore. It doesn't have that control on you anymore. But Israel would not put their faith in God. And so we read in Hebrews 3, there was three distinct stages of their journey. And let me give you this and I'll get out of your way. They had Egypt, they had the wilderness, and they had the promised land. Now, when I talk about intimacy means inner closeness. It means I'm going to show you who I really am. I'm going to show you the good. I'm going to show you the bad. And I'm going to show you the ugly. And I don't let everybody see this. But I trust you to see this. And I'm going to show you my dreams. I'm going to show you my hurts. And I'm going to show you my failures. And whenever you're going to be intimate with a person, there's 3 questions you got to ask. And here's the first one. Are you safe? Now you say, Paul, you're talking about I'm talking about your relationships with your husbands, your wife, with anybody you're around, but I'm also talking about your relationship between you and God. God, are you safe? If I show you who I really am, are you going to reject me? If I tell you everything about me, are you going to come in against my fears and my shame? Are you going to exploit my weaknesses? Are you safe? Here's the second thing. God, I got to know, are you faithful? Are you faithful? Because you know something, to be intimate with you, what it means is I'm going to have to say no to other relationships and other opportunities. And I'm going to learn to come depend on you, because that's what intimacy means. And my worst nightmare is to be abandoned, to come and start to begin to depend upon you. And then all of a sudden somebody else or some other thing comes along and you ditch me for something. I got to know, are you in this thing? And here's the third one. Are you for me? Are you for me? I don't want to live the rest of my life as a footstool for your dreams. Help me. Help me. If you're dating somebody right now, or you're in a marriage like this, you need to get together and you need to talk. But let me tell you, those of you who are dating, don't give all yourself up for them. If I got to give up all of me to get all of you, because all of me loves all of me already. I tell John Legend, all of me loves all of me. All your perfect imperfections. Hey, hold on now. Hold on, y'all. Let me go. I got to go back to preaching. My wife's gone out of town and stuff. Y'all catch that on the way home. And so, are you for me? I don't want to give you the rest of my life and be a footstool. I don't want you to ignore the dreams that are in my heart, because I'm special too. I matter in this relationship. I don't mind being in a relationship where there's 2 of us. But this relationship can't be all about you, and it can't be all about me. And I want you to care about the things that I care about. And if I can ascertain through behavior, whatever it is, that you're safe and you're faithful and you're for me, then I'm going to open my heart to you. And I'm going to be intimate. But if I believe you're not safe and you're not faithful, it's never going to happen. See, you can still be married and still be locked up. And by the way, for every married couple here, you're always answering those 3 questions in your marriage. You can't be closer than those answers. So are you safe? What Egypt was about God, was God telling Israel, I'm safe. God comes to him and says, man, you understand, God judged all the 10 major gods of Israel. And you understand that God came and he could have God could have took Israel out of Egypt by breakfast. That movie, The 10 Commandments, could have been so short. Directed by, it's over. It could have been that fast. It could have been such a short movie. It just divinely got everybody out and put them where they needed to do. But God made it a long, drawn-out time because he was judging the gods of Egypt. Do you not know that Israel, look, this blew my mind. Somehow this slipped my mind while I was studying this. The children of Israel were in Egypt the whole time all the plagues were going on. But not one of the plagues hit them. They were in a place called Goshen, however you say it. If Pastor Max was here again, I'd ask him. And they were under the absolute protection of God. Not one thing hit them. And when God delivered them from Egypt and parted the Red Sea, 3 million Jews came through the Red Sea out in the wilderness. And the instant they were through the Red Sea, it fell, it killed Pharaoh, took out all of his army. And the children of Israel, after seeing all the divine judgments against Egypt, after seeing all the things that happened to Pharaoh, after God judged and killed them miraculously and then led them out without a hair of their head being harmed, they got to the other side of the Red Sea. And they said, you're not safe. And you're trying to kill us. Israel never believed that God was a safe God. Matthew 13, this is Jesus. All things have been delivered to me by my Father, and no one knows the Son except my Father, nor does anyone know the Father except the Son, and the one to whom the Son wills to reveal him. Come to me. Watch this. All you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you what? Rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and what? Lowly in heart. You know what lowly in heart means? It means God is not pompous. It means God is not arrogant. It means God is not exclusive. It means that there's not one person in this room that God won't eat lunch with today. It means it doesn't matter your social background. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter if you got hair or no hair, big or skinny. It does not matter. God, he's not exclusive with you. There's not one person that Jesus won't come to him. And he says, I'm gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy. That word yoke for easy, watch this. That word means it's custom made for you. I don't know if you've ever heard this being taught, but I want you to listen to me. God's saying, what I'm going to ask you to do in your life, the ministry, the calling, the thing I put on your life, it was custom made for you. It means it wasn't meant for your neighbor. It was not meant for your friend. It's not one size fits all, thank God. And I created you in your mother's womb, and I will not be a harsh taskmaster. And when I ask you to do something, it will be perfect for you because my yoke is easy and my burden is light. God said, I will not overwhelm you, and I know exactly how much you can bear, and not one more bit more than that will I put on you. Now, does that sound like a safe God? Absolutely. And he's not calling a bunch of winners. He's calling a bunch of losers. Come to me, all you that are weary and heavy laden. If you're losing and you feel like you're overwhelmed, if you feel like you're about to fall down and that nothing's working for you, if you tried everything but life is not working, he's saying, I know your problems, I know your pain, I know your failures. Would you just come up and jump in my lap and let me wrap my arms around you and let you see who I really am? I don't reject you because of your problems and mistakes. I love you and I'm inviting you to come. And when you come and talk to me about your temptations and failures and all the things you fear and all the things you've done wrong, I'm not going to laugh at you and I'm not going to ridicule you. I'm going to be gentle with you and you can trust me. I'm not a mean God. I'm not an arrogant God. I'm not a distant God. I'm a gracious, loving, and humble God. And if you'll put your faith in that and begin to trust me and believe that I'm safe, you will find rest. Your heart will finally find rest. How could you think he's unsafe when he's the one who made you safe? Israel didn't believe it and they didn't get their inner's rest. But regardless, watch this, regardless of how safe he is, he cannot make you safer than your faith allows. Your fear of God is what keeps God away. Here's the second question that Intimate has to answer. God, are you faithful? And the wilderness was all about the faithfulness of God. And all God was trying to show him in the wilderness and to teach him was who he was. He's faithful. And so they could go in the promised land. But remember when the children of Israel came out and they entered, they got manna, y'all, that fell every night. Bread from heaven. Praise God. That's where Wonder Bread came from. Amen. Bread from heaven. And it only fell one time a day. And God would not let them take more than a day except the day before the Sabbath. And when the manna fell, God said, every day when you wake up, watch this. God said, every day. Somebody say every day. Every day. If you grew up on the east side, every day. Every day. When you come out, that manna is going to be on the ground. The first time it comes out, them fools go get like them carts at Sam's. You know, them big old sled carts. And they're like, they got like 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 months of manna they're trying to pack up on the sled, and because they didn't want to depend on people, and they wanted to get as much as they could so they didn't got to depend upon God in a relationship. And the next morning they got up and that manna stank and had worms in it. Now, that's one thing to stink. It's a whole nother level to stank. The Bible said it stank. Like when your kids come home from football practice and they take them shoes off, you're like, oh, Jesus. My son, because them shoulder pads get sour and he'll be trying to hug me after the football game. I say, oh, hug your mama, boy. Hug your mama. All right. Good job. High five. God said, I told you not to take more than one day's worth at a time. Well, what's the point? The reason I told you that is because I'm going to be here every day. Did I not tell you I'm going to be here every day? If I said I'm going to be here every day, that means I'm going to be here every day. You don't have to have fear, and I'm going to be here tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next year and the next year and the next year. But the reason that you want to stack up all that stuff is because you really don't trust God. You really don't believe that he's faithful, but I'm going to prove to you that I'm faithful because I'm going to give you one day's worth at a time. And for us to be intimate with God, we're going to have to answer that question. So Numbers 14, it says this. So all the congregation lifted up their voices and cried, and the people wept at that night. And the children of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron. And the whole congregation said to them, if we'd only died in the land of Egypt, or if we would only died in this wilderness, why has the Lord brought us up to this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and children should become victims? Would it not be better for us to return to Egypt? So they said one to another, let's select a leader and return. Then the Lord said to Moses, how long will these people reject me? And how long will they not believe me with all the signs which I performed? God said they're rejecting me. Miraculously delivered Egypt, brought them from the promised land, brought them to the wilderness, gave them manna every single day, all the way, all the things that he had done, water out of a rock. He led them faithfully all through the wilderness, and they get to the border and they said, you brought us all the way over here to kill us. We trust Pharaoh more than we trust you. And we already know how it feels to be rejected. It's the greatest pain in life when you get rejected. Make no mistake about it. But can I tell you a little secret? The children of Israel rebelled against God. They would not go into the promised land. Watch me. They accused him of trying to kill them. Said they wish they were back in Egypt. Can I tell you something? The next morning, there was manna on the ground. All their hostility, all their anger. You know why? Because God is awesome. Because God is faithful. And can I tell you something? God's even faithful when his people aren't. God is faithful because he can't deny himself. The next day, water was there. A pillar was there. Their clothes didn't wear out. God didn't let what his people were saying about him change his character. But the reason that God didn't let him go in the promised land is because they would never, in spite of all of his faithfulness, they would never say in their hearts, I can depend upon him and I won't be disappointed. I do not need mammon. I do not need the world. The only thing I need him. And there's some of you here this morning. The reason you haven't walked into that rest of God is because you will not 100% come out and say, I trust God to meet all of my needs according to his riches. I trust God's decision making more than my own decision making. And here's the last one you got to answer. God, are you for me? The promised land was all about that. Hebrews 13 says, let your conduct be without covetousness. Be content with such things as you have. For he himself has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper. I will not fear. What can man do to me? The reason this is so important that God says, leave or forsake. Can I tell you it's possible to forsake a person that you never left? Give me 5 more minutes and I'm done here. You can forsake a person that you never left. A husband can stay with his wife but forsake her, turning his heart away to his business or to someone else. A wife can stay with her husband, but she can forsake him by turning her heart away from him. And you know what God's promise is? God's promise is this. I'll never leave you and I'll never turn my heart away from you. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter how you treat me, I'll never leave you and I want you to catch this because the world's been trying to lie to us about it forever. God said there's nothing you can ever do that will make my heart turn away from you. I will not forsake you. And my question is, are you still wondering if God is for you? The promised land was full of houses and vineyards prepared by giants, a wonderful land. God was for them. You realize these people were going to get to walk in and get houses where giants lived? They was fixing to move from like a little hammock to like a giant size bed, not king size. You know how bad a giant? That's a big old bed. And if you got giant size bed, you know what else you got, Cam? Giant size TV. giant size bluebell. I'm gonna tell you how good God's been. Y'all know y'all didn't grow up on that song? I'm gonna tell you how good God's been. I gotta finish this message so I can get you all to lunch. But before I go, let me tell you how good my God's been. Come here. One day I'm gonna grow up and be serious. No, I'm lying. Let me give you this. Deuteronomy 4 says, yes, we can watch the tech game on the big screen, Pastor Javi. The Lord has taken you and brought you out of the iron furnace, out of Egypt to be his people and inheritance as you are today. Galatians 3 says this about Jesus. Christ has redeemed us from the curse of the law, having become a curse for us. For it is written, cursed is everyone who hangs on a tree, that the blessing of Abraham might come upon the Gentiles in Christ, that we may receive the promise of the Spirit through faith. Romans 8:31 says this, what then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? Are you safe? Are you faithful? And are you for me? See, that's what's on the table here today. Because some of you have no rest in your life. You're exhausted mentally. You're exhausted physically. You're exhausted spiritually. You're at your wits' end. I believe with all my heart there's people here today like, I'm done. I'm so freaking done. I take 2 steps forward and then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose and I'm back where I started from. And it's just frustrating, Pastor Todd. I hear you, man. But who do you think would want you to be frustrated? Who do you think would want you to start out? Listen, anything you start's going to be difficult if you've never done it. The best time to get you discouraged is when you start. So I can take your feet, because if you'll never learn the true faithfulness of who he is if I can get you out early. And so there's some of you, man, I don't know if he's saved, dude. I don't know if he's faithful because I've never stayed around long enough to see that he's faithful. I'm not mad at you. I'm just being real. I've been there. I've been in and out of church just for 28 years. I've been solid. But before that, I was in and out and in and out and in and out. I didn't know if he was safe. I didn't feel like he was safe. Felt like he was mad about everything I did. I don't know that he was faithful because I never stuck around to see if he was faithful. Now I can tell you with certainty, of 28 years of being in this relationship with him, he's faithful. But the only way to find that out is to get a track record. You go try to buy something and say, oh man, we can't help you. It's not that you got bad credit, you got no credit. Well, could I put this in my baby's name then? No. Selah Mikkel. Selah Mikkel. If I could put that up in her name, be good luck. Karis? No. Okay. Anyway, so it's not that you got bad credit, it's that you got no credit. He said, come back after you've been at this for a couple months and let's look at it again. And what they're saying is, after you got a couple months into this, I can tell you how faithful you're going to be. Watch this. If you'll stay in this thing long enough with God, you can see how faithful he's going to be. But the only way to find out is to get in it with him. Now you already know, I already know. I've got the testimony of what it's like not to have him. And it wasn't because God was shady, it was because Todd was. But today, aren't you tired of running and being exhausted? Aren't you tired of being frustrated every day of your life? The only way to change that is to answer those questions today. And the only way you can change that is to develop a relationship of intimacy with the Lord. It's time to get closer.